super quick, super easy gathered skirt. The front of the skirt is going to have a flat waistband, and the back of the skirt is going to be gathered with elastic. So for this tutorial, you will need your pins, you will need some elastic. I am using, I think this is 1.5 inch thick elastic for my skirt. This is 1 inch elastic, so because I'm using a 1 inch elastic, my waistband is going to be about 2 inches thick. You will also need your fabric scissors. You will need interfacing for the front part of your waistband. You don't need much because you're only interfacing one piece of your front waistband. You will also need your thread snips just in case you have to snip any threads. And of course, your fabric. So if you see me changing fabric, or when I go to sew, if I'm sewing something different, it's because I'm making multiple skirts today for my shop to put on my rack. So if you see me changing, it's just because I am using multiple fabrics and I'm doing multiple skirts and different sizes to hang on my rack in the shop. So you want to have your fabric, and you also want to have your customer's measurements. These measurements are very important. The only one that you will need really is the waist measurement, and then you'll also need the skirt length measurement to cut your fabric to the right length for your customer. So today I'm going to be using this really pretty green and blue African print fabric. I normally get my fabrics locally. Sometimes I order online. This one was from a local shop in my area, and I'm going to be using this one today. So your measurements are very important for this skirt because you are going to be making this back piece of your skirt elastic, and the front piece is going to be flat. So you will want to have your customer's waist measurement. So I'm just gonna make this one in a medium, which is what size I wear. There will be a pattern available for this skirt ready for download in a couple weeks. I'm actually working on that right now, getting that pattern available. So my waist is a size, I think it was like a 32 last time I measured. So I'm gonna go with a 30 for this skirt. So for our waistband, I'm going to be using my cuff wide ruler, which I'm going to be using my 2 inch cuff wide ruler for my waistband. Now, since I'm doing a 30 inch waist measurement, I am going to open this fabric up, and I folded it for no reason. I'm going to open this up, and we are going to mark half of our waist measurement, which is going to be 15 inches. So we're going to mark 15 inches on our fabric, and I'm just going to use this as selvage. So I'm going to go ahead and mark 16 inches for my seam allowance. Of course, you want to have some tailor's chalk. I forgot that in the instructions of what you need. So that is my 15 inch mark. And then the next thing that I'm going to do is I am going to fix my lines, and I'm going to make this a 2 inch wide waistband. We're just gonna mark that out. All right, and then so we're actually going to make 2 of these. Now you can, if you want to, have a fold on the top of your waistband. I don't like having a fold on the top of my waistband. I like for it to be stitched. So if you want to, you can take this and you can do this 4 inches wide and 15 inches long, and that can be your front waistband. You'll just have to fold it down when you're sewing it, after you're done sewing down your front waistband and your back waistband part on the next piece. So I'm just marking out both of my 15 inch pieces And then I'm gonna go ahead and cut those out. Now for the back waistband, since we are doing this skirt elastic in the back, we are going to end up cutting a piece for the back that is the full waist measurement. So that back waistband piece is going to be 30 inches long, because we are going to be putting elastic in there, so that's going to draw that back waistband in and create gathers for you, so you don't have to do any pleating, anything like that. So we're just going to get these front waistband pieces cut out, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut my back waistband, which is going to be 30 inches long, our full waist measurement. Alright, so we're going to get two pieces that are 30 inches long. So both of those, ooh, we got 31, yay. That's why I love using African prints, because the fabric is like 45 inches across. So I didn't even have to like go into this part of my fabric to get both of my waistband pieces. So I'm just going to start right here. I'm going to mark both sides of this line, because under here is one piece, and on top of it is another piece. So we're just marking out our back waistband, which is the 30 inches, which for your client would be the entire waist measurement. You do not want to make this the same size as the front. You do not want to make this a little bit longer. Oh, I'm just going to do 4 inches longer than the front, because it will not gather the way that you want it to gather. So I'm just going to cut this out. It will not gather the way that it's supposed to, and give you enough room to actually get in and out of the skirt, unless you do it this way. So you're going to cut this out, and this is going to be our back waistband piece. Alright, and then I'm just going to cut this in half, and that will be our back pieces. So, sometimes I be lazy, sometimes, but it's still gonna come out good. So I did not feel like going all the way down that 30-inch piece with these scissors, honey. So I just folded that bad boy in half, and I am going to cut my back waistband out. So now we have two pieces that are 30 inches long. One piece is going to be used as the actual waistband for our skirt. The other piece is going to be used as the facing. So what you will want to do from here is, now we're going to cut our skirt pieces. Now, this is the easiest part, because we just want, I'm not even going to, I want these skirts to have a lot of flare. So I'm not even going to cut this way. I'm just going to take this piece of fabric, because like I told you guys, this is 45 inches wide. So I'm just going to take this and fold it in half, and I'm going to measure to see how much fabric I actually have left after cutting out those waistband pieces. And it's a little bit crooked because of this little fold that's in there. So what I'm going to see is how much I have left. Let's see how long this piece is. So we have about 31.5 inches. So that in half would be about 15, 16 inches. So this is going to be a mini skirt. So I'm just going to take this and fold this in half again. And these are my two skirt pieces. Now, if you want for your skirts to have pockets, you can go ahead and cut out a pocket bag. I have a pocket bag that I actually like copied off of one of the, I had an extra from when I was cutting, and so I just use that as my basis now for all of my pocket bags when I'm doing skirts. So you have now two pieces. Now these skirts are gonna end up being kind of mini, maybe for an adult, but I'm pretty small, so even if this is a medium for me, for a kid, it could be like a large, like a 14, 16, because my daughter is a 14, 16, and she can fit my clothes, so there's that. So this skirt is going to be end up being about 14 to 15 inches long. Kind of short, but I mean, it is what it is. I'm using what I can to get what I need. So this is our front and back skirt fabric, front and back, and these are our 2 waistband pieces. Now for your waistband, that's our back and these are our fronts. You want to take your interfacing and whichever of your front waistband pieces that you want to be on the outside, so not the facing piece, the actual main fabric piece, you want to take that and you want to put interfacing on the back of, like, maybe fusible, it doesn't matter, whichever kind that you want to use. I'm going to use fusible because I can just take it over to my iron, and press it on and then cut it out. So I'm going to use some interfacing to make my front waistband really, really smooth and flat, because you don't want like any puckering or any or later on down the line when you wash your skirt, you don't want the waistband to start falling over. If you've ever bought a skirt that's African print and the waistband was not interfaced, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So over time, this fabric will start shrinking and it will start like jumbling up, and you don't want that. So you want to put some interfacing on the front piece of the waistband only. The back doesn't matter because it's going to be brought in with the elastic anyways, so you're not going to worry about that. While I'm on the topic of our elastic, the piece of elastic that you want to cut for the back waistband part, you want it to be the exact length of the front. So since our front waistband is, I think I did 16 inches for ease, we got 16 inches. We're gonna cut our front waistband elastic to be that same size, because once you put this elastic into your waistband, it is going to bring that in. You see how pretty those gathers is? I don't think y'all can see that, but it gathered up so nicely, and I didn't even sew anything, because it really, you're gonna end up cutting off at least an inch, or having at least an inch of this hanging into your waistband, because you're gonna have to pull it, and you don't want too much. So all of this will end up being in the front part of the waistband instead of being in the back, because you're gonna feed this through. So we're gonna go ahead, I'm gonna go ahead and interface my front waistband, and then I'm going to take the facing piece of whichever one I wanted to pick, and I'm going to pin them together right here on the sides. This will look kind of crazy because one's shorter than the other one. Pay no attention to that, because that is how the skirt has its flare and how it does what it does. So, and the skirt is super duper quick, super duper easy. Like, if I wasn't making a video, I swear this skirt takes me like 30 minutes to make. 30 to 45 minutes, depending on like if I'm being slow or whatever. So this is gonna be how your waistband looks when you pin it together. As you can see, it looks kind of weird. It looks like a smile. But you're gonna sew those 2 side seams down. If you're putting pockets in your skirt, this skirt is too short to have pockets. I don't have time for that. For this skirt, it's too short. So I'm not gonna put pockets. So I'm gonna go ahead and sew these straight down on my side seams. I normally don't pin, but I'm gonna pin today for video purposes, demonstrative purposes. We're just gonna pin down. We're gonna do the other side, same way, pin all the way down. Digging in my bin of pins. All right, so now that we have that all pinned, we are going to go over to our sewing machine. We're going to sew this down, sew that down. After we get our interfacing on, we're going to do the same thing to our other two waistband pieces, and we are going to sew those together. So I'll meet you back at the sewing machine. All right, we're back at our machine. We have all of our pieces pinned and ready to sew. As you can see, I did a quick little switcheroo on the colors because, like I said, I am making some for my shop. I'm not gonna worry about back and front stitching at the end because this is going to be sewn in the inside. This is not gonna show. The only part that I do serge of these skirts are the side seams and the bottom of the facing seam, because that is going to be visible to the customer. So I actually serge that part. Now if you're making this skirt for yourself, or you know, you really don't care, you don't have to serge it. As you can see, my front waistband piece is interfaced. This is going to be facing my skirt. If you don't want to line, if you don't want to serge it, that is definitely on you. If you don't have a serger, you can use an overcasting foot. One came with my home brother machine, or you can buy one online. I think you can get them for like $5 to $10 if I'm not mistaken. So if you don't have a serger, you can do that, or you can just use a regular old zigzag stitch on your machine to finish the edges of your garments. Like, there's so many ways you can finish the edges of stuff. You can use a binding, it's definitely up to you. But I am going to serge this, one of the edges of this, whichever edge is going to be facing the fabric. It really doesn't matter because you can just flip it upside down. But I'm going to serge one of these edges, and then I'm going to serge the side seams of my skirt as well. But I'm gonna sew this first. When I'm done with the skirt, I'm actually going to take it and I am going to hang it up on my rack for sale. So I'm going to put tags on it, a size tag, a price tag, all of this stuff. And I actually have been figuring out ways that I can make my own chain tags, barcodes, like a lot of stuff, you know, so it looks more professional. And it looks like, you know, you're getting it from a store. So I have these business card printables that I got from Walmart. I'm going to be using those. So I'll probably do a video on how I do it. But as you can see, I have my side seams sewn down. All right. And so now I'm going to go and I'm going to serge this edge. And I'm going to serge one of the edges of my skirt waistband. So not this one with the interfacing. We're going to serge this other one because this one is going to be facing your customer. They're going to see this on the inside of their garment. So we're going to serge this one and I'll be right back. All right, now that we have our pieces sewn, we are going to flip our skirt pieces right sides out, and we're going to determine which side we want to be our front. I'm going to do the side facing me as the front. You want to take your piece that is interfaced and you want to match up your side seams. Now you want to pin your centers, and usually what I'll do is I'll take this and I'll just clip into that seam allowance so that I can mark my centers. It doesn't have to be exact because this is going to be gathered and pleated. All right, so we marked our centers on our front waistband. Now we're going to do our back waistband. Now we are going to match those up. All right, everything that is extra is going to be pleated in. So this is going to be pleated. The reason why the back needs to be pleated is because we cut that to 45 inches long instead of doing the 30 inches long for the back piece. So for our fabric pieces, you would have cut 2 front pieces that were the exact same length as your waistband measurement. So for the green skirt, it would have been 30 inches for the back piece and 30 inches for the front skirt piece. So that this back piece would have met up directly and evenly with the back waistband. But I wanted this to have a lot of gather, so I did my fabric pieces bigger. So I always pin the back first because it's easier. And I'm not doing these pleats a certain size. I'm just pleating it so that they are even. I'm doing about a 1/2 inch pleat. So it comes up to about 1 inch taken in at the waist on the back. And so now we have all of our pleats in to the back waistband. All right, and now we are going to pleat our front waistband. Now when I do the pleating on the front piece, I make one side of the pleats go to the left and the other side go face towards the right. That way we have kind of like a box pleating going on in the front, and our pleats aren't all jumbled up. Now you can use your gathering foot and gather this piece in so that it matches the waistband, but I like the look of the pleats because it makes it stand out more. It makes it more poofy. So I do the pleats, and like I said, you can gather it if that is what you want to do with your gathering foot. Alright, we have one side pleated, and now we're going to do the other side. You don't want to do your pleats facing all in one direction because then your front is going to be really flat, and that is not going to be cute. So you want to do your pleats matching, going in the opposite directions. And like I said, they don't have to be uniform unless you want them to be, but it gives more poof to the skirt, a variation of puffiness to the skirt. All right, now we have it all pinned together, and you can see that we have quite a bit of pretty poofiness in the front. So this is what it will look like in the front of your skirt, and this is your back. So now we're going to take this to our sewing machine, and we're going to sew around this top part with a I'm going to do a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. If you want to, you can go ahead and serge this seam too, but it will be hidden on the inside, so no one will actually see this. So you can go ahead, we'll meet you back in the sewing machine so that we can sew this together. All right, we're back at our sewing machine. So now we're going to sew our waistband together with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. I actually end up doing a 1/2 inch, so we're going to do a 1/2 inch. All right, now that you have this sewn together, you want to take it to your to your iron, and you want to press this waistband inside piece up so that it can catch in your facing once you sew that on. So I'm going to take this to my iron and press it, and then I will be back. All right, our pieces have been pressed up so that once we sew on our facing piece, they will be caught up in that inside seam. So now you want to sew on the floor. Now you want to take your facing piece, and you will take your right sides together, match up your side seams, and you're going to sew this on next. And this is going to be really easy to sew because you don't have to do any pleating or anything like that. Also remember that you keep your serged edge. This is not the edge that you want to pin to your skirt. I almost just did that. You don't want to do that because you want this, as you can see, to lay over that seam on the inside. So you want to pin both side seams together. And we're going to sew this to our waistband with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. We don't want to do a 1/2 inch because we still want that overhang. So, and we don't want our waistband to be too small, too thin. Alright, so I'm just going to pin this down for video's sake. I pin my pins this way because it's easier to remove them as you're sewing than pinning them to the side, which actually distorts your fabric a little bit from you pulling it out. So we're going to sew this with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance all the way around. All right, now that we have that sewn down, we're gonna go to our machine again, and we are going to press this to the back so that it's nice and even and pretty like that. So we're gonna go to the iron and we'll be right back. All right, we have our waistband all pressed down. Next thing we're going to do is we are going to stitch in the ditch, and we're gonna pin all the way down around the back only. Only the back portion. We are not going to touch our front at all. We are going to be working only with our back piece. So you want to go ahead and pin in the ditch, pin this down so that you can stitch your waistband in the ditch.
Okay.
Who you talking to, Polo? What did he say? Where he at, the house?
Who was you talking to, JP?
Polo?
Daddy.
Oh, your daddy?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he called you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Want any one of those pieces?
Go ahead. Oh, he called you to talk to you? Oh, that's so nice. All right, so now you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna stitch in the ditch all the way around, back only, back only, back only, because this is where the magic happens. This is where all of the magic happens, because next we're gonna put our waistband in here, our elastic in here. So I do back stitch right there. All right, now that we have just our back waistband sewn down, as you can see, our front waistband is open. That's our front, our back is sewn down. So now what you want to do is you want to take your piece of elastic and you want to put it on a bobby pin, on a safety pin. I said bobby pin. You want to put it on your safety pin, and you want to insert your elastic into your waistband from the front section. So this is our front, and we're just going to slide that in so that we can take this elastic into our back of our waistband. So I'm going to turn this around some, and I'm going to start feeding this elastic in. And when you feel, when you feel that your elastic is getting close to your seam, you want to go ahead and pin that, because you don't want to lose that inside of your waistband anywhere, because that is a key part of your skirt. So mine just went past it just now. I'm going to put my fingers in here, and I am going to grab this elastic. Don't let your elastic go in the inside of your seam, because then you're gonna have a hard time getting it back out. All right, there we go, I got it. All right, so like I said, you want to leave about an inch to a half an inch on the inside of that seam that is going to cross over into the front. So this is the end of my elastic. I'm gonna pin right here in this ditch and leave that little piece hanging over. So I've pinned it down right here. This is the end of our elastic right here, and this is my pin, which is right in my side seam. So I'm going to continue to feed through my elastic, because now it's not going to move anywhere. I'm going to go all the way around to our other side seam, which I'm already there, and we're going to pull this waistband out the same amount on this side as we had on the other side. It doesn't have to be the same amount, but I like to do the same amount so that my waistband is even, my elastic's even. So here is our end of our elastic right here, and here is our side seam. So we're gonna again pin that right in the side seam. And you can already see the magic. Our waistband is elasticated in the back. Look how pretty that is. Of course, we're gonna smooth that out in places like that. All right, look at that. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and sew these two pieces down. All right, there's number one. All right, and we're gonna do the second one. And I do back stitch a couple times on that seam just to make sure that my elastic is in there securely. All right, now our waistband is totally sewed down in the back. Now we're going to do our front the same way we did our back. So we're just going to pin down in this ditch, and we are going to close up our waistband for good. We're done now with our waistband. All right, so now our skirt waistband is finished, our front is flat, and our back is elasticated. So now the next step and the final step is hemming. What I do to hem these skirts is I fold up ½ inch. I do a double folded seam allowance hem. So this is what I do. just gonna do 1/4 of an inch, because this is a small skirt, so I'm gonna do 1/4 of an inch. I don't pin this part. And so we're just gonna sew this waistband down. After we sew this waistband down, all you have to do is add your tags, press this hem, and you are done. I make sure that my side seams are facing the same way that they are in the waistband, because that will make your skirt lay fronted. Okay, go ahead.